Hello YouTube, welcome back to the channel. So if you saw the thumbnail, you're going to be like, what the heck is up with the thumbnail? It's actually kind of a funny little bit of a joke. Neo already had a video out on this exact same topic, like immediately. He teleported down to the office and immediately it was breaking news time. Lights went off in the HQ and everything. I thought it was very funny, but at the same time I took a little bit of time kind of on the side of it to look at it. I knew I was going to be able to put up a video about it pretty quickly as well. I didn't need to run to be the first. But I also listened to his video and kind of got a little bit of his take. So I'll show it on here. So I did kind of I'm going to make a little bit of reference to this, but at the same time, I want to take a little bit of a stab at it myself and add to it. The story itself is simple enough. You can see it right from there. It's right in front of you. So PSA announced in Twitter, but as well as now Instagram here. So you can see this one just less than an hour ago from the time I'm recording this. So basically with the National coming up, PSA has announced a little bit of a special, meaning an 18 card submission. And as you can see here, limited time only. Good through July 31st. So it's a little bit of a special, exclusive to Collectors Club members, 20 card minimum, cards only, declared value limit of $199 with an estimated 150-day estimated turnaround time. Tournament times are estimates only and not guaranteed. So likely in the same way as the recent decrease to the $30, it's basically looking at going off of the backlog. Now, that's where now Neo went into a couple different possibilities with some of the stuff. Of course, the national timing, the promotion capabilities of it, and he's a little bit more optimistic about what this is going to mean as far as the amount of cards they're going to get in. So I'm going to take a little bit of a different take and deviate from it, but I did want to give a little kudos to Neo for being first off the gun with it. Plus, I had a little bit of fun, like I said, with the thumbnail. We had a good chuckle about it. So here's kind of my take on this, and this is kind of how I want to present this to you. So I agree with some of the premises that this is going to get certain folks to go out and actually submit some things. What I'm thinking about, and I had some conversations kind of the side of it, and I do believe that in a certain way, it's not too little too late. It's still a good step in the direction of it. But I think what's going to happen is I think they are going to get a little mini surge of it. But I think what they're going to find, and this is now the majority of what I'm going to say here, is strictly in the opinion piece side of it. I do believe they're going to get an increase in stuff because at this price point, there's certain items that become a lot more attractive to submit. And obviously, you can take advantage of it, submit from home or drop off at the National. Again, it is temporary. The $199 declared value limit is going to keep it to certain types of specific cards that people may want to do a little bit more in bulk. The 20 card minimum is going to fall into that. What I would be interested in seeing, and this is kind of my take on it, is I actually think that they're going to be able to get a certain amount of submissions. That's going to help. But as they're making their way through the backlog here, with the amount of capacity they actually have, and this is pre getting the New Jersey office and that additional capacity turned on, I think they're going to find that even though this price decrease is going to come to help give a little bit of a boost, as some other things have been depressed and as some of the flipping game has taken a hit, I don't think it's going to be enough to offset. I think it's still going to be looking like, if they are doing their projections correctly, I do believe it's going to look like they're actually going to fall short of being able to use all their capacity. Now, it's not so much the price that's the problem, it's the timing. This is a price point that might have helped them maybe 30 to 45 days ago. Mind you, they had more of a backlog back then. But at the end of the day, with the majority of the capacity being devoted to the backlog, and if you notice, the price has been reduced a couple of times as we've been going along. It was $50 and it was $30 with conditions. Then the conditions got dropped off, and now this came out. The speed at which it's going, and even though with the timing of the National and everything, it wasn't like neat timing. I think if you were actually planning this rollout, and this had been a planned rollout, my opinion, and again, this is where I delve directly into my opinion only, my opinion is that it would have maybe been announced maybe about a month ago saying, hey guys, for the National, we're going to be doing a special with the grading, stay tuned. Even if you don't give the price and the conditions at that moment, you would have said like, stay tuned, if it was an organized rollout. This speaks to me, my opinion, as a thrown together last minute move. This feels like somebody with a lot of power at the company made a decision to do this. This is kind of a little bit of a stunt and a little bit of an experiment. Again, my opinion only. My opinion is a bit of a stunt and experiment to see like what kind of business they can drum up for this. The reason I say that I believe that it was kind of thrown together quickly is because a lot of the bulk submitters, I don't believe, were informed about this. And I don't think they got much of a heads up. Not because I know any bulk submitters, not because I reached out to them or spoke to them, but let's just say the communication, I'm sure they will get communication about this, and I'm sure they will be able to ask questions and answer them, but I feel that there's a delayed reaction. If it was a planned rollout, I think they would have gotten the heads up a little bit earlier. That is my opinion combined with conversations I've had. The other piece of the puzzle as well that kind of leads me down thinking this side of it is that, again, while it's not a terrible idea, it does create a lot of very uncomfortable questions for said bulk submitters. That's why I say if it was a controlled, planned rollout, And it was like, oh yeah, we'll do this leading to the national. It'll help build up, a little bit of momentum for us leading into the national. We'll do all this stuff. We'll take submissions and all this, and then we'll go forward from there. I think it's kind of, honestly, I think it's a gauge to see how much additional business they're able to drum up with this. And if they find that they don't get quite as much as they're hoping for, if in fact, people don't start drowning them in cardboard right away to start filling in some of those gaps that are going to appear shortly, because every day that goes by, more and more of the backlog stuff gets sent out. PSA is doing 800,000 to a million cards a month. The majority of that stuff is coming off the backlog. When that backlog disappears, that capacity still exists, but you don't have enough stuff coming in the front door to offset it. And even if you took all of the other third-party graders, current stuff, basically the current stuff that they're getting submitted into, if you took SGC, CSG, and BGS combined, the three of them, PSA could do that about 3 times over with the full capacity they have available to them. That's before the New Jersey office gets turned on. So realistically, they could take 100% market share and it still wouldn't fill up all their capacity. They need to have a lot of stuff coming in. And while this price point is attractive, even though they say it's limited time offer, I would not be shocked. This is the prediction side of it. Again, only my opinion. I would not be shocked if they don't see quite what they expect. If by the national it isn't announced that this becomes a valuable price point. Again, maybe with some conditions, restrictions. Maybe you make it a 20 card minimum. Maybe you tie it into something related to the set registry or whatever. Maybe you make a set registry level that's a little bit cheaper than this, just to provide those folks finally some reprieve that they've been waiting on. Again, right around the time that backlog starts shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, the capacity suddenly is going to become available. And that's where things get really interesting. That's why I say, this is interesting. The timing of it is peculiar, and I'm really not sure it was planned out as much. So Neo's more on the side of planning, and they have a good gauge on the totals. I think they have a decent gauge on the totals, but I genuinely think that they have been surprised, and I'm not sure why. They've been surprised that they're not getting as much stuff in, even though they're probably still getting a decent amount of stuff in. All you have to do is look around the marketplace. SGC, we talked about it before. SGC has done a great job turning stuff around and getting stuff out to people. They're not getting more than about 100,000 cards a month. They really don't have a backlog. They have zero backlog, but they're getting 100,000 cards a month. Go check out the gem rate for the last several months. That's good. But if you had capacity for 1 million, you got 100,000, that would be terrible. Even if you got double what SGC was getting, that would still be terrible. That's 80% of your capacity not being used. 50% of what SGC is doing would still be terrible. So that's one of those things where I wouldn't be shocked if this price point becomes a stable or even something around $20 faster than I think anybody was anticipating, because maybe the amount of stuff coming in, even though there is stuff coming in, because I know that for a fact, I don't think the amount coming in is measuring up to what they would expect with the amount of capacity they have on the back end. So when those folks are done working on that backlog stuff, they're going to need something to do. And even though this will help, if it doesn't help enough, I wouldn't be surprised if some of those restrictions get dropped off by the national if I was to predict it based on nothing more than my opinion and just kind of reading the tea leaves based on what I see. So I'm a little bit more pessimistic about how effective this is going to be. I feel like it's maybe about 30 to 45 days too late. This might have been a bigger move maybe a month ago. But again, people would have complained about the backlog at the time, so that makes total sense. Not taking it too seriously, like I said, with the silly thumbnail and the whole thing, hopefully you get the gist that I'm just playing around a little bit. But I do seriously think this is interesting. I do think the timing is a little bit odd in terms of that. I don't think it's quite as organized as I think they're getting credit for on this one. I feel like they're throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. And the funny thing is, it'll help, but I just don't know if it'll help quite enough. And it's going to be a very interesting and potentially bumpy ride for the rest of the summer to see what, if this is a harbinger of things to come, and see what happens as far as additional steps if this doesn't quite give them the injection of new submissions they're looking for to the amount that they're actually looking for. Because even a decent sized injection of new submissions might not be enough. Again, strictly my opinion on this piece. So that's it. Just throwing out some thoughts into the ether. Just thought I would kind of share that with you and maybe get some of your opinions and thoughts. For those of you, I'm curious if any of you were on the fence at all. If those of you who don't want to submit to PSA under any circumstances, there's really, you can give your opinion, of course, but that's not going to have anything to do with you. I'm curious for those of you that would consider submitting, is this interesting to you? Is $18 with a 20 card minimum and $199 maximum declared value? Is there anything that you could think of that you would want to submit at that level? Would it make any sense to you? Or would this be something where you'd want to look at it maybe when some restrictions are dropped off, if this became a viable price point, or even around $20? I'd be curious about that. Just your thoughts in general, I'd be curious to kind of see. So there you go, Thursday. The content gods have yet again provided, even when we weren't expecting it, just out of the blue. PSA throws us this one about 3 weeks out from the national. So we'll have to see what happens with that. Anyway, More videos coming up on the channel. Live stream Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be doing that. We'll chat about this for a little bit just to get some thoughts on it. I don't think there's too much to discuss on it other than the obvious that I've touched on a lot on this video. The rest of it's just kind of speculation and us spitballing things to see what comes up. Anyway, curious to get your thoughts. Throw them in the comment section otherwise. Like if you like the video, subscribe to the channel. Thanks very much. We'll catch you in the next one.